Logan Paul recently had Cliffe and his son on his Impulsive podcast, and they talked about a plethora of different things. But one of the topics that did arise was the discussion about abortion. Now, in today's video, we're going to dive into a clip where we see Logan Paul kind of explaining his views towards all of this. And we're going to look at a specific Bible verse that really just shows the heart of the Lord when it comes to this topic. Now, with that being said, let's dive into this clip where we see Logan Paul seemingly have a heart change towards life itself.
Saw the ultrasound yesterday. 21-week-old baby. And I saw fingers. I saw hands. I saw a baby. I saw a little human. Personally, yeah. Seems a little up to abort a 21-year-old weak baby. 21-week-old baby.
Old baby.
Yeah, the ultrasound makes it super, super real. But in those odd instances and unfortunate instances where, like, again, it's always you'll always have people pushing back on the conversation. Or even, like, say someone determines they're not responsible enough. And that's a responsible decision in itself. Maybe I'm not at a point in my life where I'm willing to take care of a child because I don't have the means, the resources, the finances. I'm not stable enough in my own life to be able to bear this baby. That's I think responsible and, like, maybe a little bit of an ethical decision because you've deemed you're not able to raise this baby yet.
But we see here Logan Paul is talking about different things. He's talking about, his personal experience with seeing his 21-week-old baby and seeing the hands and the fingers and just the body there, and how he thinks it's really screwed up for somebody to now, do an abortion even at that state. And so he's finally seen the impact, even just seeing the ultrasound has. But then he also then talks about how he says, but then there's times when I think it's pretty ethical for somebody to do it when they can admit that they're just not ready. Well, guys, the simple response to that is, listen, if you're mature enough to have sex, then you better be mature enough to then go and be prepared to have a baby, because that is the risk you are taking. Listen, because you were personally foolish and decided to hook up or have sex with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and all of a sudden you ended up pregnant, and you think the ethical thing to do is now to end a innocent baby's life, that's far from ethical. And that's something that should never happen, but sadly, it does. That is a common thing. Hey, I was a fool, I was young, and I had sex, I got pregnant. Instead of me, living with that and continuing to go through this process of this pregnancy, I'm just going to end this baby's life because that's going to make everybody's life easier. And in reality, it doesn't. Guys, we have to understand too that, listen, if you get pregnant and you can't afford the baby, you can't think of how you could even raise this child, there are adoption centers out there. And I know adoption centers need work, but there are people who are eagerly out there wanting to adopt because they can't have kids for themselves, or maybe they can, but they're just having a hard time growing their family. As there's so many people out there who would love to have children. And so I would just encourage Logan to kind of rethink his thoughts, because it's not ethical. It's far from ethical to even think about ending a life. And so with this, it did make me think of a certain Bible passage that kind of rings true, and it shows you kind of the heart of the Lord. And it's found in Psalm 139, verses 13 to 16, where it says, "For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you. For I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought into lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed, and in your book they all were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them." Guys, The Lord is the one forming our inward parts, and He is writing out our story. Guys, He cares so much about life. Even at the moment of conception, that life is valuable. Logan Paul in this interview seemed to really kind of sound very cultural, but the reality is there was a lot of errors with what Logan Paul's viewpoints are. And I'm praying that this conversation would just be a seed planted in Logan, and that he would one day, sooner rather than later, come to saving faith in Christ. I know there's a lot of people out there who think there's no way Logan Paul can get saved. But guys, I look at my own life, and I'd actually encourage you to look at your own as well and say, and if the Lord can save somebody like me, a wretch and a sinner like me, then He can save Logan Paul. Real quick, guys, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the BTteam Ministry YouTube channel, as well as like this video and drop a comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this. And if you enjoyed this video, you might like this one over here.